No, you are not seeing double. These are actually not the exact same types or the exact same models of typewriters. This one right here in the left is the Typestar 6 from Canon. And on the right is the Typestar 7, also from Canon. Both of them came out around the same time frame, between 1984 and 1985. And they are both thermal electronic typewriters. So you can actually use standard paper to use them, or you can also use thermal paper to use them without the ink cartridges. So there's lots of similarities between the two of them. However, there are some key differences in the two of them, which we'll cover in this video. So we'll be covering that throughout the video. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you which one of the two I actually prefer. So let's talk first about the similarities between the two typewriters. Like I mentioned before, both of them are electronic and thermal typewriters. So you can actually use these ones without having to use the little cartridge that comes in the typewriters. You can use it without it by using thermal paper, which you can find for a very affordable price out there on Amazon or on eBay. It's essentially, the thermal paper is essentially a big receipt. I found this stack of 10 pages for about $12 on Amazon, so a really good deal. You can also get them on rolls, like a big receipt, or you can find even smaller rolls as well. But as long as it's a thermal paper, you will be able to use either of the typewriters without the cartridge. The only issue that I have with this thermal paper, besides the fact that it's very thin and flimsy, is that it comes with this little note. Let me see if I can get it to focus. On one side of the paper, telling you that this is not the printing side. You can only print on the thermal side of the page. I have not found a different kind of model or brand of paper that doesn't have that little note there in the back. It's not a big deal for me because I mainly use the thermal paper for drafts, not for final letters or final documentation that I want to use. So it's a really good and affordable option in case you still want to keep using your Typestar typewriters without having to use the cartridges, which can be very difficult to find nowadays. The next similarity that I found between the two typewriters is that the keyboards are exactly the same. So you have the exact same keys in one, and the Typestar 6 as well as the Typestar 7. So the way of typing is exactly the same. Both of them have the very small shift button right here in the right, which is very easy to confuse with the return button or to mistype return or shift with the return. But aside from that, it's exactly the same. There are some differences here in the top with the code function, which we'll cover later in the video. But as far as the typing, it's exactly the same. In fact, the manual between the Typestar 6 and Typestar 7, it's almost the same in a way as far as the typing itself. So if you want to set the indentation, if you want to set the right margins and the left margins, it's going to be the exact same process between the 6 and the 7. Also, the symbols that you can get at the top here of the keyboard and the keyboard selection, you can switch between keyboard 1 and keyboard 2 are going to be exactly the same. Also, both of these typewriters have the text memory feature. So if you turn it on, this one has some batteries inside, so I can actually show you in this one. Let me move the camera a little bit towards the Typestar 6 so you can see. So if you hit text right here, it will give you the selection of essentially the alphabet. So you can select whatever text, stored text that you have in the typewriter itself. So you, for example, if you want to go to A, you press A, and then you can actually type something here and save it in the internal memory of the typewriter. Both of the typewriters have that option, which is very unique for typewriters of that era. However, the Typestar 7 has slightly higher capacity as far as storing the text. In fact, you can see right here in the top that they actually has the text capacity button or code, as well as the option to format the text, which the Typestar 6 doesn't have. But going back to the similarities, both of them use the exact same power adapter, which is this one right here. Let me see if I can get it to focus there. This is the original one from my Typestar 6, but it also works with the 7. It is 6 volts DC output with 800 milliamps. And it's 120 volts input. So it's a standard power adapter for both of them, which you can connect here on the right sides of the typewriters. Then you can also use both of the typewriters using batteries. So both of them have the option right here in the back to use 4 D-cell batteries. So both of them have that option. So you can run it on battery power, or you can run them on the power adapter cable. All right, so let's talk now about the differences between the Typestar 6 and the Typestar 7. Let's start off with the most important difference between these two typewriters, at least to me. The Typestar 6 uses this type of cartridges for the ink, in case you want to use regular paper to type on. With this cartridge is this one right here. I actually have the original box that I got from eBay. This is the IR50. And I got lucky on eBay once. I got a pack of 6 of them, new all stock, from eBay for about $25. Really good deal because these cartridges can be very hard to find. They're not manufactured anymore. So in case you want to use the typewriters using regular paper, not thermal paper, you will need some of these cartridges. So that's for the Typestar 6. The Typestar 7 uses this cartridges, which I also got lucky when I got this one, the Typestar 7. It came with 1 cartridge inside of the typewriter. This one may look the same, but this one is actually the Canon IR52, so the Mark II of these cartridges. They do look very similar. However, there's one key difference between the two of them. As you can see, the wheel right here on the right wheel is purple on the IR52, and in the back, again, they look almost exactly the same. However, if you look closely, the Mark II has a little hole right here on the left top of the cartridge, which is not present on the IR50 Mark I. As far as I can tell, that is the only difference between the two cartridges, which is a big deal, at least for me, because I cannot use my pack of IR50 Mark Is on the Typestar 7. And I'll show you why. If I try to use this one in the Typestar 7, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see better. You'll see that there's a little notch right there in the top right section of where you load the cartridge. And if I try to put this one in there, it will not fit properly. And I actually tried to use this one like that, and it wasn't printing correctly. It would only print the very top of the words that I wanted to print out on the paper. Now, is there a way to kind of adjust this kind of cartridges to make them work in the Typestar 7? Perhaps if you drill a small hole right there in the cartridge. I have not tried that, and I have not seen anybody in YouTube try that either. But maybe that will work, because I think that the ink itself, the ribbon themselves, are the exact same type of ribbons. I'm not sure why Canon decided to do that. However, if you wanted to use the Mark II cartridges on your older typewriter, they will work just fine. On your Canon Typestar 6, let me see if I can move the camera a little bit there. Actually, I already have a Mark II right there, but the Mark II are backwards compatible to the Typestar 6. So this one works just fine, because if you look closely, there's nothing to the right end of where you load the cartridge to prevent you to put in the Mark II of the cartridges. So that's a key difference for me, because this type of cartridges, the Mark Is, even though they're not particularly easy to find, occasionally if you look on eBay, you will find them for a good deal, for a good price. However, the Mark IIs, even if you find them, they are very, very expensive. Some of them even sell for more than $100, which I'm not sure who would pay $100 for this, especially since these are thermal typewriters. You can just use them without the ink cartridge. You can just use the thermal paper. But that was a very important difference between the two typewriters for me. Another difference between the two typewriters is that if you have the Typestar 6, you can actually load different fonts, or what they used to be called typefaces, called type styles, Canon type styles. Here, they would sell them separately as cartridges. You will load them in there, and you can have different fonts for your typewriter. The Typestar 7 also has the exact same slot. You just load the cartridge right there. However, again, Canon decided to have completely different cartridges for the type style for the 7 compared to the 6. So even if you had type style cartridges for your 6, you could not use them on your 7 or vice versa. They were completely different cartridges. And now I do not have any of those cartridges for the different fonts, so I was not able to test that, but you can read that in the documentation that they have on the manuals for the Typestar 6 and the 7. Now, in addition of the Typestar 7 having additional capacity for the memory, the internal memory, this one right here also has a serial port right here on the side of the typewriter. You can open the door right there, and you see the serial port that you can use to connect to your vintage computer in case you wanted to. I have not tried using this port, but in case you're curious, you could connect this typewriter to an older computer and print directly from the computer. But again, I have not tried that feature yet. The Typestar 6 does not have that feature, so you cannot connect a computer using the Typestar 6. And last but not least, the case. This is the briefcase case from Canon that I got, that it came with my Typestar 7. Really nice case. It opens like this. You can actually also, it's a little bit dirty inside, don't mind that, but you can use it, you can use the typewriter here with the case on, and you can actually drop this right here to use it as a palm rest. So really nice case. Initially, when I got this Typestar 7, I bought it mainly because I wanted to have this case, and I wanted to use the case with my Typestar 6. One of the main differences, I guess, between the two of them is that if you have the case for the Typestar 7, it does work with the Typestar 6. However, I'll show you. The Typestar 6 is just a little bit smaller than the Typestar 7. It does fit. It fits well. However, if you were to close it, but it is a little bit of a loose fit. So it's not an exact fit for the case of the Typestar 7. So it will be a little bit loose, and you will feel it inside moving a little bit back and forth. It's all right. It will work. It's not going to damage the typewriter at all, but it's not a perfect fit compared to the Typestar 7. I may be able to put in some protection or some additional padding on the top of the case to have it become a little bit of a better fit. However, this one works perfectly with the Typestar 7, which I will show you here. It's much better fit. You will see that the 6 is actually not the exact same size as the Typestar 7. It's gonna be very, very hard to show you there, but the very top, let me see if I can get the camera to show you there. The very top of the typewriter in the 7 is a little bit taller than the 6. So let's go ahead and close it and I'll show you how the fit is much better here in the 7. There's nothing loose inside. You can actually don't feel anything when it's moving. So it's a much, much better fit, again, using the case that it came with, of course. So those are all the main differences that I found between the 6 and the 7. Again, not huge differences, but they might be in case you plan to use the typewriter in a specific way. I do not own the case that came in with the 6, so I can't show you how that one fits in its case. But anyways, those are the main differences that I found between the Typestar 6 and the 7 from Canon. Now, which one do I prefer? I guess it's gonna be a relative question. Everybody's gonna have different purposes for using a typewriter, and especially now in 2024. But to me, I actually prefer the Typestar 6 a little bit better, because like I mentioned before, the ways of typing, all the different settings are, the different options that you have between the two typewriters are exactly the same. So the typing experience is really going to be very similar between the two typewriters. The clickiness of the keys, everything is the same. You can set up all the different options in using the window or the LCD screen. Everything is going to be very similar as far as typing. Now the main difference to me are the cartridges. This Mark II cartridges that are made for the 7 and I guess also for the 6 are very difficult to find, and just in my opinion too expensive. This one's the IR50s, the Mark I. Yes, they are hard to find, but if you find them for a much affordable price compared to the Mark II, especially if you don't want to spend too much money on just ink ribbons for your typewriters. So that's the main difference to me. I do not plan to use the additional capacity as far as storing the text. I do not plan to use this to connect to a computer. So if I had to choose between one or the other, I would go with the 6, just so I could use this cheaper cartridges in case I want to use regular paper to type on. But anyways, let me know what you think about this too. Let me know which one do you prefer if you have any of these. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye-bye.